We're back with another critical breakdown of Critical Role in Exandria Unlimited. And when I say critical breakdown, I love doing these things and breaking down the parts of it to see what your thoughts are on these things. I have these gray area things I'm trying to point out, these really cool moments that you might not have caught when you watched it because you're just enjoying the show or something. And trying to find little gems and nuggets that we can all take and use to increase our games from these awesome pros that are doing this thing and putting on a great show as they always do. But we got a lot of stuff to get into on this one. I'm going to try and have this be a little bit faster paced. I'm still going to set up each of these so you know what the heck I'm talking about, just in case you haven't watched this, because by all means you don't have to watch the episode before you watch my breakdown of it if you don't have the time to watch a 4-hour clip. Trust me, I understand. Send it over to Comfy Coach. Hello there. If you didn't know this, I have a Patreon where I have released multiple monthly resources. These homebrew resources help to increase the quality of your games and have more fun all at the same time. So back to you. All right, here we go. First things, getting into it. They are in that stagecoach, leaving off from the last episode, and they are taking off, getting out of the city, and let's just see what unfolds.
Should go really fast.
How do I just...
Who's driving?
I think I am.
Yeah, okay. You want to try to, like, get a little more speed on there?
Go faster!
Animal handling check.
And here we go.
Oh, no. That's a 1. No!
Yo, literally one of them starts pulling to the side. Like once you leave the town or the city proper and like the lush greenery of the countryside pops up, they just start straying off the path and begin eating at a shrub.
Where are you going?
And they've stopped now.
Maybe they're hungry. I'm hungry.
Maybe they want to.
We really
So far, nothing crazy.
Does anybody know how to do this with horses?
Aren't you like a nature person though?
Yeah, but this is a little different.
Different nature.
I mean, I usually have a lot of friends that are animals, but this is they don't have any like collars or leashes or things in their
Gotcha.
mouths. I
Let me give it a
control them. Okay.
I'm cast Thaumaturgy to make a thunderclap. Right behind him.
Oh
Yep.
no.
What do I want to call this? It's just got to be animal handling. Just, you're going to tell me what the horses do.
So real quick right there, because Aabria mentions this herself. I don't know if I'll show that part of the clip, but she says like she's asking them for a bunch of animal handling checks just back to back to back. So this as a dungeon master is do you want them to succeed at this thing that they do or not? And asking Darius for animal handling is probably going to give him a much lower roll than if you asked him for just to make a spell check or something. Like roll a d20 and add your spellcasting modifier to it because he's doing thunderclap. Like boom, like do something like that. So you can control, like I talked about in the last episode of Exandria Unlimited, what you ask them for really matters as far as what their overall potential is for whatever the scenario is. But let's keep this thing going.
12.
Okay. You send off a massive thunderclap behind them, and these two massive, pure white Frisians rear up and bolt. Now, were you on the cart when you did this?
I was probably like next to her on it, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to need dexterity saving throws from the two of you.
That's fair.
As they tear off down.
So full on hold up timeout on this one right here. Is this moment is Aabria making a choice as a dungeon master. Right now, things are unfold and there's this whole thing that's about to play out with them leaving her and them coming back, and it turns into this whole thing. So I love what it turned into. I love that it turns into a thing that they caused, and this is a little mini game challenge that they're having to be thrown into. But this is the moment where Aabria decided to turn this into something, right? Funny little animal handling check. They pull off to the side. The cart stops. Okay, not a big deal. Get it back up and going. Thunderclap. Funny thing to get it. He gets a 12. Respectable enough of a number for you to say like, oh, the horses startle back up and y'all back on the adventure, and then you keep going. She could have totally kept it going there, but she chooses to have this be a dexterity saving throw, which again, keep in mind this as a dungeon master and be in control of this and understand what you're choosing to do here whenever you ask for these things, because they could go bad. But I really love how this whole thing plays out. Let's just keep going.
Emerald, you both. Bloop.
What?
Fall off.
I have my favored by the gods ability.
Okay.
Just once per short rest. If I fail a saving throw,
Whoa!
I can roll 2d4 and add it to the total,
Yes, good.
which brings it to a 14.
You feel yourself teeter and you kind of sway as you see Fern
Which brings me to my second point here that I'm trying to, these are actually just connected into themselves, is whenever a player fails, I don't know what the DC she had in her head was, but it doesn't matter for this conversation, because whatever that number is, if a player fails with a 10, like he said, and he uses this class feature, he uses one of his cooldowns to be able to do something here, and you got to have that succeed. I don't know what the DC was, or maybe it was 12 or maybe it's 13, but whatever that thing is, it's you gotta have them succeed at this, because they're choosing. It's gonna feel really bad if he said 14. You're like, ooh, but it was a 15. You know what I mean? Like, if they're using a big feature like this, you gotta understand to go with them on that, because it's gonna feel real bad if you don't. So let's keep going.
Catch yourself on the edge. But Fern, you do fall off, and you are going to take 2 points of bludgeoning damage as you hit the ground and roll.
Ouch!
So how the rest of this plays out, not to do a full-blown scene here, is Darius goes to cast Levitate, and he tries to levitate her, which is interesting. He thought she'd be pulled along like a kite, like he casts Levitate, but then she just starts floating. So it was a funny interaction of having a player think a spell goes a certain way and the DM ruling it differently, having that little conversation there. Other players trying to figure out what to do. Liam ends up jumping out of the cart, and he's saving the thing for the horse, or putting his hands over the horse, and after a bunch of animal handling checks later, they finally all end this whole thing with this whole derailing, just like the horses were. But that's on you as a dungeon master. If you ask for a check, it could go bad. So don't ask for checks unless you're ready and prepared for it to be a completely derailing moment for whatever happens. Third thing here is they're still on this caravan and they're going, and this is going to be an interesting player versus dungeon master debate here. Ooh, Liam and Aabria going toe to toe at it. It's not that hostile. I'm not trying to paint the picture like that. They're traveling away in a stagecoach from Gilmore's Glorious Goods, and it literally shits out glitter behind it. It's that's what they call it in the game. But there's this glitter that keeps falling, almost like a trail leaving behind them. And let's see what happens.
Weird. There's all this glitter. I feel like they're gonna catch us.
I know.
Should we abandon the horses?
Should we change the look of it? I don't know how we can
Does
do
it
that.
does it actually shit glitter as it drives?
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
Real world,
does.
tangible. It doesn't evaporate into the Fae 2 minutes later.
There we go. So Liam presented with this problem is this is a problem. It's a challenge problem solving type of situation of how you're going to deal with this glitter. Are you going to have a trail where they can follow after you? Maybe that's something that Aabria wants in this world, that she wanted to be able to have some sort of thing that Posca can chase after them or something like that. I don't know. Liam brings up a good point, and let's see how this goes.
If we just stand here scratching our heads and staring at it for a while, what happens to it?
If you wait, you notice that after about 5 minutes, it goes away.
Okay.
There we go. What a great thing. I don't think personally that Aabria had that as a mechanic for this this stagecoach. Before Liam asked this question, he presented a very good point in a very calm way of like, doesn't it just evaporate to the Feywild? Like, man, as a dungeon master, like, yeah, that totally makes sense. There's so many times that we don't have the entire world and all the answers fleshed out, but we understand the world enough and how the mechanics of it work to where, yeah, that would make sense, and they would just dissipate, right? Instead of like, no, it's permanent glitter for forever. Like, no, that makes less sense. So players, pitch ideas to your dungeon master. Be prepared to be said no or yes to, and dungeon masters be open to cool player ideas that make sense of things that you throw at them. Next thing, now we're going to finish up this whole stagecoach debacle thing, because they finally have settled into this whole situation. All of this craziness just ensued, and now they're getting back onto the stagecoach to set off once again. And let's see what happens.
And you take off again. I'm not going to make you roll for it because I'm honestly afraid of all of your dice at this point.
Smart. Great call. Like we were just talking about, don't ask them for a roll if you're not ready to free. What happens? No, you don't ask them for a roll. It's even Ashley volunteered herself down because she's been rolling so bad that the two other players had to step in and take the reins. But she didn't ask him to roll for it, and we're going to keep on moving with the story. So yes, way to finish it off. Now for this next part, it's not really a dungeon master tip on this one. This was just really cool. I've never seen this done like this before. I think it helps whenever you have all the separate little sections off here that you can see each of them. But they add a new player in the middle of all this. So let's see.
And you are here. Sophia Rai, what do you do?
Dark being! Whatever you say you are or say she should be, she will make that decision in her own time. No.
Boom. What? The new player just comes in out of nowhere. I was like, wait, what? And then it fits into the whole setup they have going, and they shifted her in there. She's been sitting there the whole time. It wasn't a reveal to the players. It was a reveal to us as an audience. That was really cool. I've never seen that be done before. So now we're in combat here, and there's an entire battle ensuing here versus a whole bunch of scorpions and this evil version of Fern over here. So it's really interesting to see kind of how Aabria ran some of these things. At the very beginning, there's a lot of players that ran up and kind of like got in position because they didn't really know. Like they didn't know if they were fighting this evil version of Fern or not. Fern hadn't gone yet. They're kind of waiting for her. Orem, Liam's character, did a really great job of constantly saying, I'm following Fern's lead. I'm following Fern's lead. But she hasn't gone yet, right? So two players said they were going to do certain things, but hold their actions and wait for something. And then once Fern went and they knew this was, they're throwing down, it's a full-on fight, Aabria, as the dungeon master, was like, she went back and let them take over their turns from all the held action stuff that they did. So I think that's a really good thing. I want to talk about a bunch of stuff here, so I'm not going to show like each and every clip of these things because overall it's just combat. As a dungeon master, let players use their held actions if they feel like, oh, nope, sorry, actually, you can't use your held action. You said it was for this certain trigger, and that never happened. So that feels bad. I don't know, right? There's times to be super strict and there's times to not be, right? So how I do this is I've done a whole homebrew video on this about your turn. I don't have held actions. I have held turns. Like if you have your action economy and you don't want to go yet, you're high enough in the initiative. You can go later in the initiative. If you want to be a strict dungeon master with that, then that's their new initiative score or that's their new place in the initiative order. So when it comes back around, that's their new spot. Or you can have them pick back up where they left off in a way, unless you start seeing players start to break it and all that kind of stuff. So again, as a dungeon master, you're in control of this type of stuff, but be nice and let your players finish off their actions if they didn't really get to finish it off the way that they were trying to, because they were role playing and waiting to attack and waiting for Fern and all that kind of stuff. For this next one, you're gonna need some context. Matt's character does not like Ashley's pet familiar, a little fire monkey situation. So they're in the middle of combat. It's not looking good. The monkey's name is Mister, and he's constantly been kind of going back and forth with it. In episode 1, he tried to attack the monkey. That's a whole nother thing. So he has role played and very much so established even before the sessions that they filmed before episode 1 of Exandria Unlimited. He's made it a point that he does not like Mister, and he's turning it into a character arc now from this lovely moment, and watch the reaction of other players at the table.
Don't ever talk about this again. And I'm gonna take a 5-foot step in between the scorpion and the evil mister.
Yep.
And I'm gonna cast Cure Wounds on Mister.
He's coming around.
So cute! He heals, I rolled an 8, so that's 8 plus
Oh my God.
3. So he heals
Oh, that
11 points of...
little kid.
And look at this awesome reaction from the table. So it's a long con. It's something you have to you put in that work early, and then you build into it later to where it does not like this monkey, does not like this monkey. And then this is the moment that is building up this character arc progression of this bond between Matt's character and this little monkey. But then he role played before this little moment. He had a fire in one hand and he looked at Mister with the other hand. He was going to use some sort of fire spell, but then he was like debating on if he should heal the monkey or not. And he's going to segue smoothly with this little description. Here's a little bonus.
The fire in my hand that I was ready to like throw like a burning hands with, instead turns into a healing fire into the wildfire spewing.
Oh, yeah. And he just does the like to your hand and grabs it.
I projected, but allow it to happen.
And he
Love it, love it, love it. These little character arc moments of progression of if your character's a certain way, or if you have beef between you, even in player versus player, like there's two players that are kind of button heads with each other, role play wise, not at the table. So I guess I should have said character. There's two characters that just aren't getting along, you know. Make sure that everybody's comfortable with that and you're on the same page, talk about all that kind of stuff. But even if you are role playing that you have your two characters don't like each other, or a certain character doesn't like an NPC or whatever, especially within the party analogy, is is have a goal to try and change that. Have a goal to try and have a character arc that redeems both of you to where you do like each other. Look for moments where you have that with each other. For a little side tangent here, I had a campaign where whenever the player started, I had one player. This is a bold move, but I trusted the player with it. I told the player that as part of their backstory, they had to how the whole group meshes together as a whole. They had a specific quest to kill one of the other party members or one of the other characters that was in the party, right? That's crazy. Well, like I don't want, but whenever I talked to this player, I told them, I do not want you to kill them. And they were like, what do you mean? And we gotta make sure we're on the same page with this. I want this to be your character's task given from your boss is you have a contract out to kill, they're like a bounty hunter type person. You have a contract out to kill this other person that's in the party, right? But don't do it. And then they completely understood what I was talking about, and I wouldn't have given it to this player if I didn't feel like they could handle that. But constantly they are now looking for ways to redeem this person, ways to extend it Aabria. Why would I like to change my thoughts on them? What would make me go against my boss in this contract not to do this thing? So a few sessions in, they're kind of role playing this thing. They're looking for it. Now, again, they're not going to stab them. They're not going to do anything like that. I've already talked to the player. I don't want heavy PvP group inner conflict out the gate. That's not what I'm looking for here. But you as the player playing your character is in control of how you interpret things. So there was a situation where there's some sort of rock landslide type thing, and one of the players, the player that they had the contract out to kill, saved this player. And after that moment, they saved their life and they changed, and they are no longer trying to kill this person. But it's still out there, and there's still a thing where they did have a contract out to kill this person. What if they find out that that was the thing? You were trying to kill me before? No, but I didn't. Like, there's a lot of really cool things there. But again, it's a little bit more complicated social dynamic stuff there, so be careful with that. But you, at the end of the day, are in control of these cool moments where you have some sort of conflict and you're looking for that character arc to be better. Now, this right here is the highlight of the episode. There is a talent show. Aabria runs the entire group through a literal talent show in Dungeons and Dragons. How awesome is this game? There's 3 rounds to it, all this type of stuff. She has this whole thing planned for him, but she does a move that I was like my jaw dropped, and I feel like I might have just actually started clapping by myself in this room as I watched this. It was a super great move. Here we go.
I'll be like a family.
I love this.
So raise your hand if you are entering the pageant.
So giving choice to the players of who's going to do this. Darius is all in. Robbie's all in. Matt, Amy, Ashley, they're all super jazzed up to do it. And then look at Liam. Liam's crossing his arms. His character, understandably, would probably not join in this type of thing, right? So now you're in an interesting, and the new player's character, Fiera Rai. She's not, her character would not be this type of character to join a pageant show. Like, no, right? So props to them too for, my character wouldn't do this. And like, they are totally down to sit back and watch the show. But here comes the next level move by Aabria.
Come on,
Okay,
Nance.
those of you that are competing in the pageant under your own name, totally fine. The 2 of you that are not, please open up the index cards.
Oh boy.
You are now playing citizens of Byrodin that are also in the pageant. Everybody gets to play.
What I want to know though, is it Dariax or is it Darla Star?
So Liam's talking about the difference between Darius's character and this little illusion of a character that he plays. But the move here is she actually took Liam and Fiera Rai's characters. They didn't want to play, right? They're Orem and the other character. They didn't want to play, but now she has index cards with pre-made NPCs on there that they can now play. Now they're going to play an NPC in this pageant, which gives them, oh my God, they steal the show in some ways. Their 2 characters are a huge part of this and what they do and run with. And it's so cool to see them dive into these NPCs that start having beef with the other players, or just to put on a grand show with this dwarven woman that Liam pulled out of nowhere. It's hilarious. And she just gave them an index card with different little quirks and things that be able to kind of give them some sort of tools. And she goes, by all means, you can change anything you want everyone on that sheet. And they take it and they run with it and they all have a blast. That is so much better than just sitting those 2 players out and they're doing this mini game. And it's also better than forcing all the players to have to play a certain thing. So if you want to do some cool little mini game things, guarantee you I'm going to do this as well. And this opens the doors up to where you're like, sometimes there's been times where I'm like, I don't really want to do this because I know that this player's character wouldn't do that, so that would be weird and I don't want them to sit out. So what a great solution. Absolute props. That's amazing. Now we're in the final parts of this talent show competition, and Robbie's up here now. He's about to reveal this magic item that he had and describes this great scene, and then Aabria does something with it. Basically, the finale of this whole talent show situation is that there's a flat D20 roll made at the end. They're going to describe some sort of evening wear, some sort of presentation of themselves in this. It's not going to be a performance check. It's not going to be a skill. It's not going to be anything. It's just a flat D20 roll. And gives them the complete freedom to describe whatever they want. They don't have to try and think of a certain skill or do a certain type of thing. They can do and say whatever they want. It's super open and it's awesome. But Aabria also adds something into it at the end here. Just let's listen to Robbie's description first.
Brought with him that he's never revealed are his ancestral winged boots. So they're magic item and they look like normal winged boots, but the wing flares on the side are the same as his chest piece and pauldrons, and that's the splash of silver in his shoes matches the rest of his outfit. And he steels himself and he walks out onto stage, and he's doing this sort of runway walk, and as he does.
Hold up, I just noticed something that I didn't notice last time. Aabria rolls a dice behind the screen. I'm gonna go back real quick to show it, and then I'll tell you what she actually did that for. Let's see it real quick. Replay.
Stage, and he's doing this sort of runway walk, and as he does, he doesn't change his stride. The boots start to sort of carry him at an arc above the thing, and he's walking in the air for everyone. Hopefully.
Roll a d20 with advantage +6.
Yes.
With advantage.
As they're just like, oh my god.
So, 2 things here. So he has a great description, which Aabria gives him advantage for. She's done that before in different things. Whenever all the characters went through their description, if they had something next level, she gave advantage for it, right? So that's her as the DM doing it. I thought the first time I watched this, she said with advantage +6. I was like, dang, she's given advantage and a modifier on top of it, which, not gonna lie, I've done before in certain situations where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is beyond advantage. Like the certain speech that they gave to troops, a certain point that they made in some sort of social interaction where they made a point at some sort of debate where they made a point that was like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. That's so much more than advantage. Usually I'd say advantage +5 in a situation like that. But what actually happened is whenever I did the replay, she's rolling a D6 behind the screen, right? She's rolling a D6 and adding it on top of what they are getting for this thing, right? Now, interesting thing, I feel like that she should also say the player to do that. That's so that they can see that roll. But if she wants to keep it behind the screen for this, that's something that usually I feel like from watching some episodes, again, I've only seen 4 episodes of her at this point, but I feel like that's something she'd have them do and they add all the stuff together up. But she's rolling the D6 and she adds that as a +6 at the end there. But I think also she might be wanting to keep the control on her side of the screen because they really want to have Opal's character here be the winner of everything. And if she let the players roll, then that would kind of maybe affect that some. So maybe she wants to keep it. I don't know if she's fudging the numbers on these on this talent show, because by all means it's a talent show, but maybe that's the reason why. I don't know. So great description, great awesome flat D20 roll, and she added a little variable into the dice too. So another cool little twist to this game she's playing. Again, the first time I watched this and as I'm making notes, I legitimately thought she was saying advantage +6 because it was just such a great description, and it really was a great description that I was like, I loved it. I was like, yes, that would totally be great. It's almost like the DM is the judge giving you a score based on how awesome your description was to kind of help out the dice. But that's on you to make that call. Now for the end of the episode. I laughed so hard when I heard this. I was like, this has to be, I have to put this in the breakdown. Aabria is saying it for me. She says it better than I would have said it, but I completely 100% agree with this. And I'll just let her take it from here.
However, you all level up to level 3.
Oh!
Wait for it.
So before we leave, let's roll some hit dice, y'all.
Ooh.
Boy.
What do we have to do? What's happening?
Yeah, what do we do? How do we do it?
I want to know what to do.
We're also confused. And I'm assuming we can have a long rest as well.
Oh, yeah. You're going to sleep it off eventually here. When you level up your character, instead of taking the, like, median, I mean, you can take the median if you want, if you're a little bitch boy. Or you could roll. Or you could roll for your new hit points.
Whoa.
All right. Let me...
Whoa. I love that so much. I firmly believe in rolling for hit points. I think it's super lame. I'll let her say it the way she did, but I completely agree. It's super lame to just take the average. I don't know. This game's about dice, man. Like, the game's about dice. And roll your health. Yes, somebody rolled a 1 and she's like, okay, you re-roll ones and you keep re-rolling ones until it's not a 1. So the lowest you could roll is technically a 2 here. That's what I do at my table. And I think this is very important. Now, what I've said before, I have said this in a past video, is if people are like, oh, but it feels bad. What if I keep rolling low and there's my health is just so much lower than normal? I intervene as a dungeon master, and I have things called bonus level up perks, which actually, perfect segue here. On my Patreon this month, I am releasing a bonus level up perks. I'm releasing over 200 different ones, little perks that you give your characters whenever they upgrade. But if I have a player that's been continuously rolling low on their health, I've had this happen before with a barbarian who should have a higher health pool. This is crazy. They also had some sort of curse going on that they've had this lingering curse they're trying to remove. And as soon as they removed that curse, I instantly gave them something I wasn't planning on doing beforehand whenever I initially had the curse. I gave them a bonus level up perk, like a cool extra bonus feature that I gave them of more health. And I said, you know what, roll a hit dice. And they got to roll another hit dice. Again, rolling more dice still feels connected to their character. Roll another hit dice, add their constitution modifier, and increase by that. And then another bonus roll for their hit dice to increase their maximum health, put them back on the spot where they mathematically should have been if they had have taken the average each time, right? Let the dice roll and let the dice tell the story of what this person is. And I was able to weave it to the actual storyline and connect it to a curse they had. So once the curse was removed, they were able to be more healthy from it, right? So bonus level up perks work like that. If you see your characters are role playing in these certain types of ways, I have over 50 different bonus perks that you can give them to reward them for that. Whether you give it to them on level ups or you give it to them in between level ups. I'm running a campaign right now, and I've told the players we're going to level up a lot slower than usual compared to my last campaign where we hit level 20, right? We're going to level up a little slower. I want to have this be a gritty warfare type game. So I'm giving them bonus level up perks when they level up and at halfway points in between. But our max level is probably going to be like 10 or something. So, but I still want it to be over the course of a longer campaign. So I think that bonus level up perks is my favorite homebrew system that I've made. I have 2 different PDFs for it that you can also see them on my website. All the links for that stuff will be down below. But I think these are huge to be able to give your players and reward them for the stuff they're doing and the cool things that they want to aspire to go and do. But I got to play this one more time.
I mean, you can take the median if you want, if you're a little bitch boy. Or you could roll. Or you could roll for your new...
Okay, and we'll end on that note. So hey, roll your health out there, guys. Aabria's gonna come after you. I love it. So check out the Patreon stuff. Alcanner's Almanac Kickstarter just finished. By the time I'm filming this, I have no idea how it ended, but links for that will be down below. There's going to be late pledges that you can join in on that too if you want to get in on the action after it's all said and done. So until next time, stay creative, think outside the box. Peace.